Alright guys, welcome to another one of my amazing videos. This time we're going to be talking about iOS 14. We'll be giving it a little bit of a review, but we'll be focusing a bit more on the new privacy features. A lot of these features weren't immediately obvious to me and had to do a bit of digging on the internet, so I thought, why not make a really easy to understand video to tell you guys about what you can do and how you can control your privacy settings in this new iOS. And just to let you know, if you can't be bothered to watch the whole video, or if you've seen the video before and you want to go directly to a particular part of this video, you can do so via the video description at the bottom. Now, the first thing to mention about this particular iOS update is I think it's probably the most privacy focused update that they've done. So for me, this is a pretty good thing, especially if you guys have seen The Great Hack and The Social Dilemma. You'll realise that there's a lot of tracking going on of our personal data. So I think for those of us who want to protect our privacy a lot more, then this iOS is going to be a pretty big deal. Now, the first feature that we'll talk about is the microphone and camera access lights. Now, please excuse the red bar on the top of the screen. I am using the iOS record function. And what this feature does, as the name suggests, is notify you if an application is accessing your camera or microphone. So for example, if we open up the camera, you can see the green light that appears on the top right hand side of your screen to show you that the camera is in use. If we look here also, if we open up the voice recorder, we can then see that the orange light comes up to show that the microphone is in use. This is a pretty useless feature 99% of the time, but it will come in handy if there is an application that uses either your camera or microphone when it shouldn't be. The next feature that we'll talk about is the Safari privacy report. So if we open up Safari onto any website, and then we go to the top and we click on the small and big A, we can see in the privacy report tab that shows the number of trackers that were prevented by Safari. If we go into privacy report, we'll be able to see a detailed list of the websites with the amount of trackers that have actually been blocked altogether. And if we go into the actual trackers tab, we can see a detailed list of all the trackers. Pretty useless feature overall, but it's just iOS showing off what it can do. The next feature is the Clipboard notification. So if I copy this bit of text here from Safari and then go into Notes and then paste it into Notes, you will see that we get this lovely notification on the top telling us that the paste came from Safari. Seems like another rather pointless feature, but when this came out in iOS 14, it uncovered that many apps were accessing our clipboard without our permission. So, although it's pointless, it's more Apple telling these apps just to, not look at what we were copying. The next feature that we will talk about is the private Wi-Fi address. So, normally when any device communicates with a Wi-Fi network, it has to identify itself using something called a MAC address. In simple terms, it's a load of letters and numbers that a device is known as on a Wi-Fi network. Usually, devices keep the same MAC address, so if you're always logging in on the same Wi-Fi, network providers and some third parties may be able to look at those devices and they'll be able to see your activity over time. So, to get around this and to make things a bit more private, Apple implemented this thing called private address, which ensures that you have a different MAC address every time you log into your Wi-Fi. So, imagine it's like you're disguising yourself every time you walk outside so that spies won't recognise you. So, to scramble your MAC address, if we go into Settings, then go into Wi-Fi, select the Wi-Fi network that we are logged in on, and then we select Private Address. So, as you can see in my case, it's selected green. That means that every time I log into this Wi-Fi network, the MAC address changes, so I'm always anonymous. You can't see me now. The next feature is limited photo access. So from settings, if we scroll down and select privacy, then select photos. Now here you can choose the level of access that apps have to your photos. So before, you could either choose all photos or no access at all. However, now with iOS 14, you can choose an option called selected photos. So for example, if I only want WhatsApp to have access to just my cat photos, I can select just the cat photos. This is useful if you probably, have some private photos, some inappropriate photos on your phone that you don't want an app to have full access to. So on to the next feature. If we go back into settings, Scroll down towards privacy again. And what you will notice, there is a new option called tracking, and there's an option here called allow apps to request to track. If you have this turned on, it means that apps can no longer track your iPhone's advertising identifier. Nope, I didn't know what that was either. Advertisers and even Facebook were massively pissed off with this because it means that they can no longer target advertising to you, and it means that they are going to lose revenue. Oh, boo-hoo. Next is the precise location feature. So if we go from privacy into location services, now we can select which apps have access to our location as usual, but if we go into any one of these apps, we can see now that there is a precise location option. And if we turn this off, it means that this particular application will only use our approximate location. Turning precise location off saves battery, and why does Facebook need to know my exact location anyway? What I would recommend doing whilst you're here is scrolling to the bottom of location services and going into system services. Here you can pretty much turn all of this shit off. The only things I'd recommend keeping on are emergency calls and SOS, which is useful because if you press the power button 5 times in any country, you can call the local emergency services there. The Find My iPhone, which is useful if you lose your phone. Setting time zone, which is useful if you travel and you want the phone to change to the local time on its own. And the Share My Location, which is great if you have family members spying on you. The rest of this shit just gives you pointless notifications and sends pointless analytics data to Apple, which, in my opinion, is just a pointless waste of battery. If you have already done this in iOS 13, then it's worth checking these settings again, as it does tend to reset when you update the iOS. Another new feature to make sure that you turn off is the research sensor and usage data collection. So within the privacy settings, scroll down until you find research sensor and usage data collection. Go into it and make sure it's off. Otherwise, you'll be sending data about your iPhone usage to third parties, and they'll be able to see that you've been watching porn. Finally, whilst we are here, if we go back to privacy settings, at the bottom you will see analytics and improvements. If we go into this, you can choose whether or not you want to share usage data with Apple. Not recommending whether you do it or not, personal preference I guess, and this just helps Apple look at data and they use it to try and improve things in the future. Whilst we're here, if we go back to privacy settings, you will see at the bottom you have Apple advertising. If we go into this, you'll see that you'll be able to turn on or off personalized ads. This doesn't increase or decrease the amount of adverts that you see, but what it will do is determine whether or not Apple gets to look at your personal data in order to target advertising towards you. So, no thank you. That's all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you've got any suggestions or any other tips, please feel free to comment at the bottom. And if you like this video, please hit subscribe and like, and I'll see you again soon.